Welcome to the village of Mwangi in the heart of Nigeria. It is a scenic place with rolling grasslands and people whose lives revolve around the confluence of two rivers. Legend has it that this is where the world was made, and the riverbed holds many secrets from centuries past. One such secret sleeps in a small red clay box sealed shut with a centuries-old curtain. It was 1978 when some workers were digging a new canal near the rivers. They hit something hard like the bottom of a boat, but when they cleared away the mud, they found an ornately carved wooden chest that was too big to be a coffin and too ornate to be a storage box. Its lid was sealed tight with red clay. And though they tried, no one could break the seal. Finally, a wise woman named Mama Ekwueme stepped forward. She used her powers as a traditional healer and spiritual leader to break the curse and open the box. What they found inside changed their lives forever. The box contained a beautiful wooden doll made of mahogany with an intricate design of swirling patterns and strange symbols. The doll was so well made it looked alive. But that wasn't the only thing inside. There was also a scroll written in an ancient language describing how the doll was bound to a spirit and how, if treated properly, the spirit would protect and help anyone who owned it. However, if the doll was mistreated, the spirit would turn on its owner and make them pay. Everyone agreed that such a valuable artifact should be shown to the world, and the doll went on display at the local museum. That was a big mistake. That night, everyone in town had the same night. They dreamt of a little girl singing a haunting lullaby in a language they didn't understand. Then they heard tiny footsteps approaching and felt the bed shift, as if someone was climbing in next to them. When they opened their eyes, they were back in their beds with the morning sun streaming through the windows, but the nightmares continued every night and the dreams became more vivid. Sometimes they could feel the icy fingers of a small child tugging at their hair, trying to climb into their bed. Others could hear the sound of tiny feet running through the house. Some even swore they saw the shadow of a small girl standing at the foot of their bed watching them. One morning, a young boy told his mother he was late for school because he stopped to pick up the doll, which had come to life, and asked him for help getting home. At first, everyone thought the boy was lying to get out of going to school. But later that day, another child came running into her house. She had been playing in the market when she saw the doll wandering around all by itself. It wasn't making any sound, but she couldn't help but follow it. She led the doll to her house and watched in horror as it climbed up the stairs, turned around and stared at her. Paralyzed with fear, she screamed and ran out of the house. That's when she saw the doll's footprints, a series of small handprints leading away from her house. And this wasn't the only place where these handprints were seen. All over town, people were finding strange handprints in their yards and on their doorsteps. Always 3 small prints followed by a bigger one. No one knew what to do. All they knew was that the footprints spelled danger. 3 days later, 3 more children vanished. This time, when they returned, they were holding parts of the doll, a leg, an arm, and its head. The children claimed they found the doll sitting on the edge of the river, beckoning for them to play. It was then that Professor Adaeze, an expert on ancient African cultures, confirmed that the doll did indeed contain the soul of a princess who was resurrected by blood magic. He explained that the hidden teeth and hair in the doll bound her spirit to the toy, and she would unrest until it was whole again. But what no one realized was that the doll wanted to play more than just a game. It wanted revenge on those who dared disturb it. Soon after the professor's visit, he disappeared. One morning, Adaeze, the name of the doll, was found lying on its side. When people rushed to pick it up, they noticed blood dripping down its chin, a single tear rolling down its cheek. Soon the walls around the doll were covered in messages written in blood. "I am awake," it said. "Let me out." But no one listened. They were too afraid to move the doll, so the messages kept coming. "Help me," it cried. "Set me free." But it wasn't long before the messages turned threatening. "You can't hide from me," they read. "I'll find you. Then she wants to play. As fear paralyzed the village, they tried to call the police, but the lines were dead. Cell phones no longer worked and no one could leave the village. The closer the full moon got, the more active Adaeze became. It started moving on its own and the bloody handprints could be seen everywhere. The doll was never found in the same place twice, but people kept finding bloody handprints. Always 3 small ones, followed by a bigger one. The people of the village were terrified. No one dared to leave their homes at night, and most stayed indoors during the day. It seemed like the doll was stalking them, waiting to strike, desperate for help. The elders turned to Mama Ekwueme once again. She consulted the spirits and learned that the only way to stop the doll was to take it back to the river's confluence where it was found and bind it there forever. But to do this, she needed a child to act as bait. Unfortunately, the only child brave enough to step forward was the headman's granddaughter, Zola. On the night of the full moon, Mama Ekwueme took the doll to the confluence. She laid it on the ground and began chanting in an ancient language. The air grew cold and dark clouds gathered overhead. Suddenly, the doll moved and the spirit inside it emerged. A little girl with long flowing hair and eyes that burned with rage. She lunged for Mama Ekwueme, but the old woman was ready. With a flick of her wrist, she sent the doll flying through the air. It landed at the edge of the river and the spirit came after it, racing across the water toward Mama Ekwueme. The villagers watched in suspense as the spirit pulled itself onto the bank and began to climb out. Just as it reached the top, Mama Ekwueme made one final sign of the cross. Her body glowed with a bright light, and the spirit screamed in pain. The light enveloped the doll and the spirit and pulled them both into the river. With a final splash, they were gone. When the villagers arrived the next morning, they found bloody handprints in the mud, but the doll and the spirit were nowhere to be found. Later that day, Zola awoke from a deep sleep. She sat up in a bed and stared at the wall. She was unharmed, but she wasn't the same. Something about her seemed off, like a part of her was missing, but she couldn't tell what it was. And though she was safe, the same couldn't be said for the doll. Every night at full moon, the villagers could hear the sad lullaby drifting across the river. And sometimes at dawn, they could find strange handprints in the mud on the riverbank. Always 3 small prints followed by a bigger one. They never found the doll again, but they learned an important lesson. Some things are better left buried. Now it's time to make your voice heard. Comment below and tell us what you think happened to Adaeze. Was she finally free from her curse, or is she still searching for her lost body? If you want to hear more scary stories, stay tuned.